Okay. Um. Okay. So, as requested, and because I wanted to do it, here's a video on Robert Sanchez, Chelsea's new goalkeeper. Um. It's an interesting deal for a lot of reasons. I think it's not the deal people wanted. But I think there's actually quite a bit to like, despite what the sentiment is. So, a couple things. First off, age profile. This is fine. I think people wanted younger or they wanted better, and I think that's fair. But I think kind of the for the makeup of the squad, this is the right age in terms of goalkeeper you're looking for. Kepa, I expect, will not be brought back unless he's willing to renew on significantly reduced wages at the end of his contract. So getting someone in the same age range as him, I think, is probably wise. Um, so that's one half of it. And the other is, I think if you go too young, I think you run the risk of now you have an interesting dilemma between this goalkeeper and Slonina, who I think the club are quite high on. Height, the profile is crazy. He's massive. That's a really, really big boost. I love tall goalkeepers. It makes me feel safe. It is what it is. Not crazy about the 7-year contract. That's fine. The fee, I think, is reasonable for what he is. He's been a Premier League starting goalkeeper for 3 years. He's peak aged. He's quite good. I think this is not unreasonable. I think his wage demands will be interesting to see what Capology have his wages at on FBref. He was making £20,000 a week at Brighton, allegedly. We'll see what that number looks like. Again, if you can get that, that's say 50 or 60, significantly below Mendy's number, that's pretty nice. And as I said, that number is cross-controlled for 7 years. He hasn't played that much for like a soon-to-be 26-year-old. 16,000 minutes is a big number, but not that big, considering a lot of this is youth football and then down the leagues, and we've seen some of the struggles of adjusting up the leagues. So there's things we can manage from there. From an injury history perspective, nothing of note. This, I believe, is his like quote-unquote feud with De Zerbi, which he is not the first player to feud with De Zerbi. Nothing of note to worry about, which is nice. On the data side, a lot of people have gotten really, really worked up about this. And sorry, this is here to block some Premier League stuff. People have gotten really, really worked up about the shot-stopping numbers, particularly that he's had a quote-unquote quite poor 2022 season. There's a couple things to know. He passes it lots, so we'll talk about some distribution stuff at like quite good success rates. This is fine. Like, this can be one short pass missed and you're in trouble. The save percentage is fairly unreliable. We'll talk about more of the expected goal stuff. The things that are concerning to me in the 2022 radars compared to 2021 and 2020, which are the two red ones here, is that the cross-collecting numbers dropped a lot, and that the sweeping actions dropped a lot, and the height of the sweeping actions dropped a lot. So I watched a lot of video, and I don't really think it's a real thing. I'll talk about some stuff when we see it. I'm not super concerned, but these numbers, in terms of cross-claiming, are really, really nice. The big elephant in the room is the XG stuff. And so I think we can see, like, historically, he's about a league average shot stopper by the Opta FBref numbers. This year shows up really, really poor. What I will say is that Opta's XG model does not include some factors that you would want in your ideal XG model in terms of how much does it know about defender positioning. So is this chance actually a much better chance because the player's unpressured? If you look up like StatsBomb pressure XG, you can see all these cool articles about how much does pressure on the ball change the XG of a shot, the conversion rate of a shot. And if you look on Twitter and you look for like old Robert Sanchez FBref tables when FBref were supplied by StatsBomb instead of Opta, you can see all these people being like, Robert Sanchez was the fourth best goalkeeper in all of Europe's top five leagues by XG saved last year. And these are not the radars of the goalkeeper who was the fourth best goalkeeper in the top five leagues by XG prevented. So what I will say is there's a lot of differences model to model. You can look them up for yourself and see what they are. But there's some interesting data there that I'm not concerned about the XG numbers. This table went around this week from John Harrison, who does great work. He has an OGV, overall goalkeeper value. So this is shot stopping, but it's also sweeping and cross-taking and distribution. So, for example, if you catch a cross on the edge of the 6, you get an amount of goals prevented based on like what a shot would be from that situation, or what if you sweep, what that sweep would result into a chance for the other team. I have some qualms with that methodologically. Like, I don't think things really should add up that way, but it gives you some insight that Sanchez was something like a -6 XG shot stopper over the year, but he's adding value compared to the average Premier League goalkeeper as a distributor, as a sweeper, and as a cross taker. So it looks weird that he's in the bad goalkeeper section, but it's not super cause for concern. Interesting is that Kepa shows up here. This is all shot stopping value, which is quite interesting. Okay, so we'll go through the shot stopping stuff first, and then we'll look at some other data that I think is quite interesting. So as like just a making saves kind of guy, he's fine. Like, there's some good stuff. Again, good reflex saves off of headers. Again, deals with the deflection really well. Does well at his near post. He's so tall and he's so long from a frame perspective that there are certain saves he makes that are at a very different level than what Kepa can do. Like, here you have a looping header that's going right under the crossbar. Like, that's a much more difficult save for Kepa to make. Here's another one. Right? It's right at the crossbar. We've seen so many times Kepa struggles with these. Here does well on a 1v1, which is one area where Kepa is very strong as 1v1s. One of the areas I have for concern is his handling. So if you watch Sanchez, you'll see a lot of bobbles and a lot of bad rebounds. And this is probably my biggest area for concern. So, like, here's the FA Cup semifinal. That's a decent rebound. But then you have, like, Martinelli from a weird angle, and it's, like, spills it for a rebound. You have one from distance that he bobbles that he probably doesn't have to. Goes with his feet on this one. This one he does okay. So, like, and I don't want to just sit here and be like, good, bad. But, again, there's just a lot of handling things that make me a little bit concerned. And I don't think it's anything like technique-wise. It might just be a bad year. But little things to keep in mind that are a little bit worrisome. Like, again, like, that should be a comfortable hold, and he is choosing to parry. And maybe that's because he's had a bit of a rough year where he's not playing as much, or whatever. He's bobbled ones before that he tried to hold. Like, he tries to hold that one that results in an Nketiah goal. So he chooses to parry. That's fine. But these are shots that you are looking for your goalkeeper to hold. Again, another one. Like, this admittedly comes through quite a bit of traffic. Fine. But, like, this should be a clean hold at the near post. One of the most exciting things is the cross claiming. So this I dragged up on Twitter. If you look up Robert Sanchez stats bomb, you can find this. They tweeted this a few years ago. Sanchez scores extremely highly in his crosses claimed above average. And again, a lot of that is his frame. He is massive. So, like, we are talking about someone who is claiming a significantly larger percentage of crosses available to him than the rest of the league, and that's really huge. So if we think about comparing to Kepa, again, this has always been Kepa's weak spot, is that he's very poor at dealing with crosses. This is a strength for Sanchez. He can come for things. I think we all think back to when Mendy joined it, how much of a revelation he was coming in dealing with crosses and how much it helps the squad. This has declined in 2022. This is something that worries me. But if this is real and it's just a down year, he didn't like the Zerbi, whatever, I don't know. Sometimes keepers coming for crosses is instructed, whether like a coach is like, no, stay home, we'll let the center backs deal with it. Like that's an Atletico Madrid thing. That Jan Oblak was very famously told, don't come for crosses, we'll let the center backs deal with it, and you just save the shots. So we'll see. But if you watch the video, there's a lot to like, right? Good aggressive claim and a hold, not a punch. Very clear. Hold, not a punch. Here's another one. Through traffic, great hand. Again, these are like, Kepa is either not coming, right? Like Kepa doesn't come for this. That's a free header at the back post. Good punch or good parry. Here's another good punch through a lot of traffic. Here's a great claim through a lot of traffic. Again, these are like deep back post deliveries that Kepa just lets run out of play at the back post often. But that's a claim. You get a counter out of this. Here's another one. Header back in. Hold, not a punch. Hold, not a punch. Okay, it's a little bit dicey, like I said, handling issues, but hold, not a punch. Hold, not a punch. These are really, really nice moments for you. Okay, so I think this is the area that I look at Sanchez and I say, okay, if he's not going to be your out and out starter, because I think that's a conversation to have that we can talk about at the end. At worst, there's a lot of scope to use him for specific games. Are you using him for Liverpool because they're going to cross a lot? Are you using him for Brentford and West Ham because they're very direct? And Everton because they're very direct? So that, I think, is an interesting decision to think about. The last piece to talk about is the distribution piece. And this is where I think I see the biggest plus. The cross-taking is huge, but I think this is maybe the most underrated plus. Kepa has a reputation of being a good ball player. Kepa is not a good ball-playing goalkeeper. He's very uncomfortable when he is pressed, and he plays lots of long passes that are slow and high, and whoever the ball is going to is going to get hammered by a defender. He also does not have good range. He can't kick the ball that far, which seems like a very like Brexit means Brexit way to talk about goalkeeper distribution, but he does not have the range to threaten backlines. When I talked about this in the Onana video with Onana is able to hit wingers in behind, is able to hit strikers in behind from his own 18. That's a huge advantage to stretching the field. We see it with Ederson as well. If you think about the joy that Chelsea have gotten out of Nick Jackson running in behind in preseason, like you can imagine scenarios where Chelsea have their two center backs low, they have the 2-6s low, and they've pulled 5, 6, 7 players into press, and this is going straight in behind for Nkunku, for Jackson, for Mudryk, for Sterling, whatever you want, and it's a huge advantage. So, just a few clips, right? Great driven pass out to Mitoma, again, and he's so comfortable, and I don't even think he's amazing at distribution, to be clear. Like he's not Onana and he's not Ederson. But he's also not scared when people are coming to press him, which is huge. Great little clip pass out, but it's not slow. Huge distance, and it's a fast pass. It's driven. Here's another one. Right? I don't know why this clip is so long. Driven. Out to the winger. Here's another one. Driven. Out to the winger. So, I think there's a lot to like there. I think people are very up in arms because it wasn't Onana and it's not Mainan at or Magnon, or however you say it in French, at AC Milan. But I think this is fine, and if we intend to move off of Kepa and his quite large wages eventually and go get a longer term goalkeeper, this is a pretty good place where at worst you have a very, very competitive backup. So that's my thoughts on Robert Sanchez. I'd love to hear what you guys think. You can find me at my Twitter. You can find me at these videos, whatever you want to see. Alrighty, thank you.